your complete guide to the Euros. So, the Euros are right round the corner. They'll be starting very, very soon. So, in this video, I'm going to be helping you guys, if you maybe don't know too much about each team and the Euros. This is a video for you because I'm going to be telling you, team by team, their biggest strength, their biggest weakness, their key player, and a player to watch. So, every single team in this video will be covered at the Euros. We'll go group by group, and it's a real in-depth analysis and breakdown of how each team is looking heading into the Euros, so you guys can get a bit of knowledge and be aware of how each team may perform at these Euros. Of course, get in the comments below and let me know your nation's biggest strength, biggest weakness, key player, ones to watch, all of that stuff. Any important information I've missed off for your nation or any other nation in there which you maybe disagree with, please do tell me in the comments below. Hope you guys do enjoy this though. And yeah, let's begin. So, we're going in group order. We begin with Group A. I should also clarify as well that when I say key player, that does not mean I'm picking their best player. You'll see the key player is someone who I think is going to be important to the team at the Euros. And same with the ones to watch, it's someone who maybe is a storyline or a player who could burst onto the scene. So, let's begin in Group A with the hosts, Germany, whose biggest strength, home tournament. The obvious strength for Germany is this is a host tournament for them. The last hosts, or kind of the Euros, at least where the final was, England got all the way to the final, as did France in 2016 when on home soil. In 2004, Portugal, the hosts, yet again got to the final. Now granted, none of these actually won the final, so it seems if Germany get to the final, maybe better than losing, as it seems the hosts always seem to fail winning a final at home. But nevertheless, the history bodes well for Germany to at least make the final. They have a talented enough team to go far, and that home advantage means it could maybe give them that boost to win the entire thing. Biggest weakness, recent tournament performances. While the home advantage could be the biggest strength for the German national team, it could also be a bit of a problem because Germany have been pretty bad in their last few tournaments. In the 2018 World Cup as hosts, they were bounced out at the group stages, while at the last Euros they lost in the last 16 to England. Then at the last World Cup they yet again lost in the groups. Now of course this is a different management and fairly different team to those sides, but still, that underperformance in recent tournaments brings a bit of concern for German fans. If they start off bad in their first game, fans and players could get flashbacks to the recent failures of the national team, and the mood could change and become a bit toxic in Germany. Key player, Florian Wirtz. Now I could have picked a lot of players here, and many players will be important to Germany, such as Jamal Musiala, Toni Kroos, Leroy Sané, Rudiger, but Wirtz for me could be the game changer. At the last World Cup, that was really Musiala's team. He was terrific while the team failed. Wirtz was injured and was not at that tournament. However, going into this tournament, of course Musiala is still great, but after this season, the new star is Wirtz, and we all know Musiala can deliver for the national team, but if they can get Wirtz to perform alongside Musiala now, that could be the boost Germany need to win this whole thing. He's been so good this season, and it's going to be interesting if he can translate this into the Euros. One to watch, Germany struggled particularly at the last World Cup at fullback, but it seems Mittelstadt, if he starts, could be the answer to that and might be crucial for Germany. Scotland. Strength. Recent form. Rather surprisingly, the Scots were one of the first to qualify for this tournament. They absolutely stormed qualification, beginning with 5 wins out of 5, including a 2-0 victory over Spain. Despite losing their 6th match, which was the return game against Spain, they qualified for Euro 2024 with 2 matches to spare, which is a very impressive feat, considering this is a nation who have only qualified for the Euros 3 times in their history. They were in a tough group as well, with Spain and also Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard's Norway, as well as Georgia, who also have qualified for the tournament through the playoffs. Considering in qualifying that they've already beaten 2 teams who are in this tournament, that should give them a lot of confidence going into this. Weakness. Performance versus bigger nations. While they stormed qualifying and they did beat Spain, which was great, overall, when they come up against a nation where they are expected to lose, they do. Their recent friendlies have been some real tests against some good teams, and they've had some bad games. A 4-0 loss to Netherlands, a 4-1 loss to France, 2-0 loss to Spain, and a 3-1 loss to England. Shows that Scotland maybe are not capable of competing with those bigger sides. That's not great when they have Germany on the opening day, as if this continues, they could have a heavy loss in their opening game, and that could deflate and ruin their entire Euros campaign. Key player, Scott McTominay. A divisive player at Manchester United, McTominay turns into prime Ronaldo when he puts on a Scotland shirt, and it's going to be massive for them at the Euros. McTominay was a scoring machine in qualifying, grabbing 7 goals, and at one point was the top scorer in the entirety of qualifying. Those goals are going to be very important, as Scotland in general don't have many great attackers, so we'll be relying on him for the goals. He has been used in many roles for Scotland, sometimes as a third centre-back in a back three, a centre-mid, a striker even, so his versatility is also going to be a big plus for Scotland. Ones to watch. Lawrence Shankland. Now this would have been Lewis Ferguson, who has enjoyed a great season for Bologna, but he's injured for these Euros, which is a big miss, so I'll go for Shankland. I mentioned goals could be an issue for the Scots, but Shankland could be the answer if given the chance. He's enjoyed a sensational season for Hearts in the Scottish Premiership. Having scored 28 goals in all competitions, he also netted during Scotland's draw in Georgia. He started in the Netherlands and came on against the Northern Ireland. He's not been trusted too much by Clark for the national team, but when he is given a chance, he does pretty well, and he's by far the most informed attacker they have. So if he's given a chance, he might be the goal scorer that the Scots need. Switzerland. Biggest strength. Recent tournament performances. The Swiss have developed a reputation of being a very solid side at tournaments, and that is exactly what they are. They have made it to the round of 16 of the last 3 World Cups, along with a round of 16 of the 2016 Euros, and then the best run yet, which is a quarter-final penalty loss to Spain at the last Euros, where on the way they knocked out reigning world champions at the time, France. They have a vast amount of tournament experience in this squad, and a good history of making it out of the groups, which is going to bode well for them in this tough group, as they have the experience to get out of it, unlike someone such as Scotland, who have never made it out of the groups of a Euros. Biggest weakness. Goals. Goals are a bit of an issue for this Swiss side, and I do worry about this going into the tournament. In the last 5 games we have scored just 4 goals, and these were hardly against good opposition. 1 versus Israel, 1 versus Kosovo, 0 versus Romania, 0 versus Denmark, 1 versus Ireland. It's pretty poor and very dull. Now granted, in qualifying they did score 22 goals, but they were playing some really bad teams, with them being drawn in probably the easiest group, and still they didn't even top it. So I think goals might be the thing that holds them back at the Euros. Key player, Granit Xhaka. Granit Xhaka has been a key player for the national team and has always performed for them, even when he's in bad form in his club career. However, for the first time in a long time, Xhaka will be going into a tournament in the best form of his career, which is great news for the Swiss. With his new role for Leverkusen as well, he can now play as a DM or a more advanced midfielder, which is going to be very helpful for them. He's the current captain and has all the confidence in the world, as well as now having a winning mentality after a successful year at Leverkusen, which he'll be hoping to rub onto his Swiss teammates. Ones to watch: Xherdan Shaqiri. The main man for the Swiss during the recent run of great performances at tournaments, Shaqiri has been the X factor for the Swiss at tournaments, always performing on the big stage and scoring tons of goals. He will still be at these Euros and still play, but now aged 32 and playing at the MLS, it's going to be interesting if Shaqiri still has something in him to deliver on a major tournament again. If he can't, then I do worry who will pick up the mantle, but it really wouldn't surprise me if Shaqiri steps up yet again, so this is definitely one to watch. Next up, Hungary. Biggest strength, recent form. Hungary, just like Scotland, rather surprisingly stormed to qualifying for this tournament. They actually finished unbeaten in their 8 qualifying games, finishing top of their group ahead of Serbia, who they even did the double against, home and away. In fact, they're unbeaten in their last 15 games in all competitions. The last time they lost a game was against Italy in the Nations League back in 2022. They are in some of the best form they've ever been in going into this tournament, and are technically one of the most informed teams at this tournament, so they will have all the confidence in the world. By the way, I should also clarify, all of this is before and disregarding the current international friendlies that are going on. Anyway, weakness. Defence. Now, to be real, this was actually quite hard to find a weakness in this Hungary side right now, as they are just flying and playing some great football with a lot of confidence. However, they do play quite a front foot attacking game and can be susceptible at the back. They conceded 2 versus Bulgaria, 2 versus Lithuania, and 2 versus Luxembourg, so maybe there's an element of letting their guard down versus these sides and they're going to turn it on in the Euros. But if they are conceding that many to teams like that in this group, well, they may concede 2 goals a game very, very easily, which is not good. Key player, Dominik Szoboszlai. Yeah, pretty obvious, Szoboszlai is by far and away their best and most important player. While his form for Liverpool has slightly dipped, he still remains integral to Hungary and always performs for the national team. He's the captain, the creator, a goal scorer as well, scoring 4 in qualifying, takes corners, penalties, free kicks. He is the definition of a talisman. Is going to be vital for Hungary. Ones to watch: Barnabas Varga. The man that Szoboszlai will be supplying up top is Barnabas Varga, who who was a bit of a late bloomer, but he looks to be the striker Hungary have been missing for a while. He was terrific in qualifying with 4 goals in 6 qualifiers, and he has had a great season for his club with 20 goals in 24 matches. He could have a terrific tournament for them if he gets the service. On to Group B now, and we begin with Spain. Their biggest strength, recent form. Just like Hungary, Spain go into the tournament brimming with confidence as they honour a sensational run of form under their manager De La Fuente. Aside from a loss to Scotland, Spain had a perfect run through qualifying, winning 8 consecutive matches between June and November last year. The run of victories ended in March with a 1-0 loss to Colombia and a 3-3 draw to Brazil, but that loss to Colombia was when they heavily rotated, and a draw versus Brazil is a pretty good result. They are also the Nations League champions, beating Croatia in the final, which is a good omen considering they are playing Croatia in the groups. Spain are a team on form right now and should be confident of their chances of winning the entire tournament. Biggest weakness, experience. The biggest negative to this Spain side is experience. This Spain side is very, very young, with many wonder kids in the squad and also likely to play. Pau Kabasi, Lamine Yamal may well start, and they just 17 and 16 years old. Fermin Lopez could be there as well. Nico Williams, who is also young, will probably start. While these players are great and have proven at the club stage they can cope with pressure, is it wise to rely on these players on such a big stage? Now they do have some experienced guys in there like Navas and Carvajal, which is good, but also another worry is their manager is inexperienced, with De La Fuente having experience in major tournaments as former coach of Spain's youth teams, but a senior squad is a whole different kettle of fish, and it'll be interesting how he copes with the pressure of a major tournament with the senior squad. Key player, Lamine Yamal. While Rodri is perhaps Spain's best player, Lamine Yamal is the X factor in the Spain squad and could be crucial for them if they are going to win this tournament. It seems crazy calling a 16-year-old the key player, but Yamal is such a special talent that it's likely he will start at right wing for Spain at the Euros. He's been so good at Barcelona this season, making 50 appearances for Barca in all competitions, which is mad. But the best part is he's looked unfazed in the biggest moments, playing really well against the likes of PSG and Real Madrid this season. He also has done pretty well for the national team with 2 goals in his 4 caps. None of Spain's players scored more than 4 goals in qualifying, so with the likes of Oslu and Morata not to be relied on to score, Yamal may be required to step up for them, and if he cannot, then I do worry where the goals will come from. Ones to watch, Alex Grimaldo. Grimaldo has been one of the best players in Europe this season for Bayer Leverkusen, flying forward from wing-back to grab tons of goals and assists. He's been one of the best signings of the season and a revelation. Given how good his season has been, you would assume he would be a guaranteed starter at the Euros, but that's not necessarily the case. Grimaldo has been great at wing-back, and while he's played at left-back to a good level before, question marks remain over whether he is as good at left-back in a back 4, which Spain will use. Marc Cucurella had a resurgence at the back end of last season as well, so it's one to watch who will start out of the 2, and if it's Grimaldo, can he be as effective as a left-back for Spain? And if he is, that could be a massive weapon going forward for the Spain side. Next up, Croatia. Biggest strength, experience. The Croatians are the complete opposite of Spain in many ways. While the Spain squad is full of bright young talents and a bit of inexperience in major tournaments, this Croatia side have seen it all. They have been to a World Cup final in 2018, round of 16s of the 2020 Euros, a World Cup third place in 2022 and a Nations League final in 2023. The squad has remained largely the same during this time as well, with the manager Zlatko Dalic being on that journey with them throughout. Experience and now Croatia have it in abundance, particularly in midfield, where Modric, Kovacic and Brozovic have 368 caps between them, which is insane. Dejan Lovren may have gone, but throwing Perisic, Vida and Kramaric, and Croatia are one of the most experienced teams at this tournament. They always seem to turn it up in big tournaments, which is going to help them massively compared to other teams in this group who may lack that experience. Biggest weakness, recent form. While the Croatians always seem to perform at major tournaments, or at least World Cups, their recent form suggests they could be on somewhat of a decline. All great generations come to an end, and sometimes an abrupt one. Belgium at the last World Cup knocked out in the groups to end their golden generation. Germany in 2018 knocked out in the groups. Spain 2014 World Cup grouped, and Croatia's form indicates this could be their ending tournament. The Croatians reached Germany by virtue of being group runners-up, finishing behind Turkey, with the countries trading away wins. Much of the rest of the journey was uninspiring, with only 1 point from matches with Wales, and then a pair of narrow 1-0 victories against Armenia, who are currently ranked 95th in the world. Maybe they will turn it up at the Euros with more motivation, but qualification suggests they are slowing down. Key player, Luka Modric. After over 170 games for his nation, 38-year-old captain Luka Modric continues to be hugely important to Croatia, and by far and away their best player. While he is nowhere near what he once was, he's still a world-class player and will be controlling the games from midfield. He can't really last 90 minutes anymore though, as seen this year with Real Madrid, where he's been used in a role where he gives his all for about 60 minutes and then gets subbed off. But 60 class minutes of Modric is more than enough for Croatia. They used him effectively in the 2022 World Cup by subbing him out when necessary and using players around him to do his running, and they will need to manage him well again, because if he doesn't perform, then Croatia will not perform at these Euros. Ones to watch. Mario Pasalic. Mario Pasalic, a once Chelsea wonder kid who never quite made it, will be a very useful player for Croatia at these Euros. He's been involved in all of these recent successful tournaments for Croatia, but never really had a main role in the team, and that may continue again. He's always been a bit of a super sub for them, and this tournament looks like the perfect one for him to continue that role. Pasalic has had a great year for Atalanta this season, also being affected off the bench, and in qualifying for Croatia, he was again useful for Croatia, grabbing 2 goals and 2 assists, despite just starting 1 game in qualifying. He's going to be likely used as a super sub at the Euros, and he could be a very effective one. Next up, Italy. Biggest strength, the attack. The defending champions Italy appear unlikely to retain their crown, but they were not expected to win Euro 2020. It seems to be the Italian style to win tournaments when they're unlikely, and an attacking mindset under Spalletti may be the key to retaining their title. With Spalletti, Italy have been improving, so much so that they have only lost once in 8 games since his appointment. A second place finish behind England was enough to carry them through to the Euros, as Spalletti has been trying to implement the kind of attacking principles he did at Napoli. Despite not having a clinical striker, Italy managed to score 2 versus a tough Ecuador and Venezuela side, 5 versus North Macedonia, 4 versus Malta, 2 versus Ukraine and 1 versus England, which is a good return of goals, and this attack could fire them all the way to the final. Their biggest weakness, the defence. It's crazy to say this, but the Italians are struggling slightly at the back. With most of that defence from the Euro 2020 side gone, Italy have struggled. Without the watertight backline of so many of their predecessors, they have had only 1 clean sheet against a team other than Malta in qualifying, including conceding 3 versus England and 2 versus North Macedonia. That is concerning when you consider they're in a tough group, and the current crop of Italians may need to score their way out of trouble. Key player, Federico Chiesa. There are so many great players in this Italian side, with players like Donnarumma, Bastoni, Barella, DiMarco. Italy have a strong spine. However, similar to other nations, the X factor, the man who, if he performs, Italy have a chance of winning the Euros, is Federico Chiesa. He's had a horrible time at Juventus this season, but most of that has been due to not suiting Allegri's tactics. When playing for the national team though, he's been electric, and he has that ability to win games on his own, something he did at the last Euros for Italy at points. If Spalletti can get the best out of Chiesa, Italy might just have one of the best players at the tournament on their hands. Without him, Italy lack a true match winner in the team. Ones to watch: Gianluca Scamacca / Matteo Retegui. Now I'm kind of cheating with this one as I'm going for 2, but they are very closely linked, so really the ones to watch is the striker position for them. At the last Euros, the Italian team were fantastic, but really the only thing lacking was a top-class centre-forward. Immobile and Belotti failed, and the striker position has been a bit of a problem for Italy since. However, Matteo Retegui has emerged as a great striker for them, recently scoring 2 in 3 games in qualifying, as well as a brace in their most recent friendly versus Venezuela. Gianluca Scamacca is also an option, having had a fantastic season for Atalanta, but he fell out of favour for the national team due to his attitude. He's back in the squad now though, and seemed to have sorted them out, but it's going to be very interesting who plays up top between the 2 of them, but whoever does, they will need to deliver. Again, the last group in Group C is Albania. Group B. So Albania's biggest strength, the defence. Now Group B looks a fairly tall order for Albania, and they're appearing at the Euros for just the 2nd time. But whereas they were qualifying for group runners up 8 years ago, this time around they topped their group, losing just once and only conceding 4 goals in 8 matches. The goals they conceded were split perfectly too, none at home and 1 in all 4 away games. To come from pot 3 in the qualification draw to top a group ahead of Poland and Czech Republic is a serious achievement for Albania, and that watertight defence in qualifying was the reason why. They are up against some very good teams in the groups, and they're going to need that defence to be strong once again if they're going to qualify. B's weakness, goals. While the defence is great, goals are an issue. Albania only scored 12 in qualifying, 2 fewer than the next lowest tally from a group winner, and their manager has been utterly ruthless in his response by ditching the two primary forwards who helped Albania qualify. Not included in the squad was striker Sokil Chikelse, Albania's joint third highest scorer, and he started 7 of 8 qualifiers. Also left out was Mito Azuni, who scored 11 for La Liga side Granada last season. Instead, the scoring burden may fall upon Chelsea striker Armando Broja, but he has only found the net for Albania once in 2 years. He also failed to score on loan at Fulham in 8 appearances last season. And Ray Manaj has also been called up, but didn't play a single minute in qualifying for Albania. So it's asking a lot for these two to score the goals in such a difficult group. Key player, Berat Jimshidi. Picking a key player is hard for Albania as they're very much a team, and their best asset is their unity. But if I had to pick one, I'll go for Atalanta defender Jimshidi. He's had arguably the best season of his career, playing 36 games in the league for Gasparini's side and being one of the captains. He shined in Atalanta's run to the Europa League trophy, with their defence being so good and Jimshidi being the leader at the back, with the captain's armband on in the final where he was once again a rock. He is the captain of the national team in the peak of his career, and as I mentioned, the Albania defence is very good, so Jimshidi will be crucial to maintaining that defence at the Euros. The ones to watch is Christian Aslani. One of the gems of his Albanian side is 22-year-old Aslani, who is playing for Inter Milan and going to be a crucial player for Albania. He's played a decent amount this season for Inter, but is by no means a regular starter for them. But for the Albanian national side, he is a starter and shows his quality. In qualifying, he scored one of the best goals of the entire qualifying and has so much quality and potential. This tournament could be a big one for him, as if he performs, Inter may start to give him more game time, because he is a player with great potential and ability, who I could really see shining at these Euros. On to Group C, England. Biggest strength is their squad. When you take a look at the England squad, it explains why they are so highly fancied for the trophy. Harry Kane is the top scorer across Europe's Big 5 leagues this season, and in the top 20, it includes Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, Dominic Solanke, Ollie Watkins, Phil Foden and Jared Bowen. Some of those players will barely feature this summer, or not even go to Germany, showing the strength at Southgate's disposal. This England squad has 3 of the best players this season in the world, in Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane and Phil Foden. And I haven't even mentioned the likes of Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, John Stones yet. This is arguably the most talented England squad of all time, and even with doubts over the manager, this squad on its own might have enough to win the tournament. The biggest weakness, performances versus big nations. Gareth Southgate led England to the World Cup semi-finals in 2018 and the final of the Euros 3 years later, and then the quarter-finals of the last World Cup. Doubt is never far away for England though. After qualifying comfortably, March friendlies saw a loss to Brazil and a draw to Belgium, in which a 95th minute goal prevented consecutive defeats. All of those losses in major tournaments under Southgate have been versus bigger nations as well. Croatia 2018, Italy 2020, France 2022. England do not have a good record of beating those bigger nations in tournament football, with a poor Germany side in 2020, their only win versus a so-called bigger nation at a major tournament. The Three Lions should stroll through Group C easily enough, but with very few knockout wins away from Wembley, there will always be a question mark until they lift a trophy. Key player, Jude Bellingham. already the first tournament where he has expectation of being one of the main men for England. He had some game time at the last World Cup, but nobody really expected anything major from him. This time he's going to be vital to England's chances of winning the Euros, and his ability to produce clutch moments for Madrid is something which England have greatly lacked. He could be the guy in a final or a semi-final when England need a goal who gets it, as he's developed a winning mentality at Madrid. So that's why for me, he's going to be crucial for England's chances of lifting the Euros. Ones to watch: Kobbie Mainoo. What a breakthrough year it's been for Mainoo. He emerged halfway through this season and ever since making his United debut hasn't looked back. He's played almost every game since, scoring goals, controlling games, and has also made his England debut at the latest friendlies. He impressed massively, and many believe he should be given a chance to start at the tournament despite his young age. Whether Southgate plays him or not, Mainoo definitely has the ability to start for England, and if he does, could be superb at the tournament. Next up, Denmark. Biggest strength: continuity. The Danish national team has had a very good last decade or so, and this is perhaps their biggest strength. In the 2018 World Cup, they made it to the round 16, and at the last Euros got to a fantastic semi-finals, only narrowly losing to England. They did have an abysmal World Cup in 2022 though, getting grouped. However, generally, it's been pretty good for Denmark recently, and they've been led by the same manager in Kasper Hjulmand, and the majority of the squad is still going to be there at these Euros. The likes of Eriksen, Højbjerg, Schmeichel, Kjær, Mayel have all been regulars for the national team and will play a part at these Euros. This continuity is fantastic and should give them a good chance at these Euros of doing something. Their weakness: recent form. While generally they do well, the last year and a half has been pretty bad for the national team. As I said, the World Cup was embarrassing. Not winning a single game and finishing bottom of a group, which is pretty easy, is embarrassing for a nation like Denmark. Since the World Cup, things haven't gone great either, with qualification for the Euros fairly poor, as they only just topped their group on goal difference ahead of second place, which was ironically Slovenia, who are also in this group. If you're wondering how those games went, it went 2-1 to Denmark and 1-1, so they should be very tight games when they face again at the Euros. Anyways, they lost to Northern Ireland 10-men Kazakhstan after being 2-0 up, and then had the most embarrassing win in history, beating San Marino 2-1 and conceding a goal versus a team which is their first competitive goal in 2 years. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that, does it? Going 1-0 down to San Marino is not a good sign, and maybe this Danish side is past their best. Key player: Rasmus Højlund. The Danes' hopes will largely lie with Man United striker Rasmus Højlund. He scored 7 goals in qualifying, 4 more than any of his countrymen, and was the 4th highest scorer in qualifying. While he hasn't smashed loads in for United, when playing for Denmark he is much better and gets a lot more chances, so he could have a great tournament if given the service, as he's a fairly clinical striker and one of the only consistent goal scorers in this team. Ones to watch: Jonas Wind. As I said, Rasmus Højlund is one of the only players the Danes can rely on in front of goal, and if they're going to have any chance of doing anything at these Euros, they're going to need somebody else to help him out with those goals. Jonas Wind could be the answer, as he's enjoyed a really solid season for Wolfsburg this year, grabbing a solid 11 goals. He did pretty well in qualifying as well, getting 3 goals and 4 assists, and while he may not start, he's going to be a useful option to have, and one of the only players who might be able to help Højlund when it comes to goal scoring. Next up, Serbia. Their biggest strength: the Now, while the Serbs do not have the experience at the Euros, they do at least have creativity and firepower in attacking positions, with Alexander Mitrovic the top scorer in their qualifying group, and as always a batsman for the national team. Dusan Tadic and Dusan Vlahovic also are very good going forward, as are Filip Kostic and Milinkovic Savic. They also showed at the last World Cup they can score goals, with them scoring 3 vs Cameroon and 2 vs Switzerland, so expect some goals when Serbia play at these Euros. Their biggest weakness, recent form. Serbia limped their way to qualification and were very fortunate they were not in a tougher group, otherwise probably wouldn't be here. Their qualification process was poor, finishing second behind Hungary and just 3 points ahead of Montenegro. They drew to Bulgaria twice and lost to Hungary twice in qualifying, and their friendlies have been a shambles. They lost to Belgium, narrowly beat Jordan 3-2, narrowly beat Cyprus 1-0, and then recently got humiliated 4-0 by Russia, who is a side who have barely played any nations due to the war and not being allowed to play teams. That form is very worrying, and I do fear when they come up against good opposition, they tend to lose, and that could happen at these Euros. Key player, Alexander Mitrovic. I mentioned him earlier, but Mitrovic has always been a batsman for the national side, and continues to be one. He was their top scorer in qualifying, and has a great record for the national team. He's actually Serbia's record goal scorer. However, he's been playing in the Saudi League this season, and while he's destroyed that league, does the Saudi Pro League offer a strong enough test for tournament preparation? Serbia are going to be praying it does, as without their hitman up front, their hopes of qualifying out of the group may be finished. Ones to watch, Lazar Smadzic. A player's name who you probably heard of a lot of last summer, Smadzic was involved in a bit of a transfer saga with Inter and Napoli close to signing him. But in the end, the talented 21-year-old stayed at Udinese, where he's continued to impress. He's a really good player who represented Germany at youth level, but has pledged his allegiance to Serbia and could be a breakout star at these Euros. He played a bit for the national side, but is not a regular starter, and he could play a bit pot role coming off the bench at these Euros, but he definitely has the talent to make an impact and maybe get that move to Inter once again. Next up is Slovenia, whose biggest strength is their recent form. According to the FIFA rankings in April, Slovenia are the 3rd weakest team at the Euros, though their recent form suggests they are much better than this, and could surprise a few at the tournament. They enjoyed a great qualifying campaign, as I mentioned in the group with Denmark, finishing runners-up only behind them on head-to-head. Their general form has been superb as well, with the Slovenians actually on a 10-game unbeaten run, which is super encouraging. In that run, they've also beaten some good teams, beating the USA away from home, and then stunning Portugal 2-0. So they're by no means a team you should underestimate at these Euros. They're going into this tournament with perhaps the most confidence they've ever had. Biggest weakness, talent. Now this might seem harsh, but the obvious weakness for this Slovenian side is the talent. They are in a great moment right now, with a few individuals with great ability, but generally they lack a lot of quality compared to the other teams in their group. Most of their players are scattered across Eastern Europe or lower leagues in the West and Big 5 leagues, and when you look at their squad, most people won't recognise any of the names. There is a reason why they are ranked so low in the FIFA rankings, as this team, while they have been great recently, are not a very talented team, and this may be a step too far to ask them to do anything at these Euros, given the tough group they are in. Key player, Jan Oblak. The captain and the star of this side, Jan Oblak, is going to be absolutely massive to this team. US and Portugal. However, that's not necessarily because the defence is amazing. It's more so All Black is in goal. As for example, the score across the two qualifying games against Denmark was only 3-2 to the Danes. But it was actually 22-8 on shots and 7-0 on big chances. Oblak has had some shaky moments in recent years, although is near to his former self, and they need to prime Oblak to return for this tournament, as he likely will be peppered in a few games, especially versus England, and he will have to be on it. With a world-class keeper in goal though, Slovenia could be able to grab some wins. The other notable name in this Slovenian side who has become a bit of a star for the national team is Benjamin Sesko. The RB Leipzig hitman was the leading scorer for the Slovenians in qualifying with 5 goals, and he's the youngest Slovenian player to ever play for them and their youngest goal scorer. He's got a very impressive record of 11 goals in 28 caps for the national team, and he's going to be leading the line for the Slovenians at these Euros. He's been linked with some big clubs already and is seen as a wonder kid, but if he can perform like he has done for the national team at these Euros, then he may well get himself a major move in the summer. On to Group D, France. Biggest strength, experience. I mean, there's a lot of strengths to this France side, but for me the biggest is experience. Of course, the 2022 World Cup, the French were denied back-to-back World Cups at the hands of Argentina. Deschamps comes into his third Euros as France manager, having been eliminated in the round of 16 by Switzerland and achieving a runners-up medal in 2016. Under Deschamps, France have been great in pretty much every tournament besides the last Euros, and this experience of knowing how to get the job done in tournament football will be crucial. A lot of the players during this period are still here, such as Theo Hernandez, Benjamin Pavard, Antoine Griezmann, maybe N'Golo Kanté, Giroud, and of course Kylian Mbappe. The French know how to win tournaments and have proven under Deschamps they can go far in almost every single tournament they're in. They have the talent as well, so everything is pointing towards a France victory. Their biggest weakness though, the defence. Now it's extremely hard to pick a weakness for France, but if I had to go for one, it would be the defence. Now on paper, the defence is great, but when you look at how many goals they concede, it's a bit worrying and could be their downfall, as it has been in other tournaments. In their last 3 international games, they conceded 2 versus Greece, 2 versus Germany, and 2 versus Chile. Now while they rotated for these games, and I'm aware for tournament football they might shore up the defence more, that's still a bit worrying. When you also look at previous tournaments, leaking goals has been their downfall. Of course, in the final of the World Cup they scored 3 goals and still didn't win because the defence was poor. At the last Euros again, they conceded 3 versus Switzerland and lost on penalties. Conceding goals has been their downfall at the last 2 tournaments they've been in. Will it be the downfall at this one as well? Key player, Kylian Mbappe. I mean, this is pretty obvious, isn't it? This team is blessed with talent, but the obvious pick is Mbappe, with many believing he is the best player in the world, and it's easy to see why. Just ask Argentina how good he is. Mbappe consistently delivers when the pressure is on, so France can rely on him to be clutch and win the game when they need him. But also there is that element of when Mbappe is having a bad game, as we saw for a lot of the World Cup final. France tend to be poor as well. It wasn't until Mbappe turned up, France started performing in that World Cup final. So if Mbappe is on it, France should be clear favourites for this tournament. But if he's not, they might be finished. Ones to watch. William Saliba. Saliba has had another strong season for the Gunners. However, despite the 23-year-old's consistent, impressive displays for his club, he has struggled to make an impression at international level, with boss Deschamps yet to be convinced. The likes of Upamecano, Konate, meaning Saliba has started just 2 of his country's last 18 matches. Deschamps rather pointedly stated that Saliba had yet to produce his very best form for France, but the Arsenal man should start in Germany, and this is his chance to establish himself as the number 1 pick at centre-back. It's also a chance to really see where his level is, with many Arsenal fans rightfully waxing lyrical about him, but this will be the first time he's put under huge pressure on the European stage, so let's see how he copes. If he can replicate his form at club level for France though, the most defensive issues I mentioned earlier may be gone. Next up, the Netherlands. Their biggest strength, the squad. This Dutch team looks scary on paper and should be hard to beat in the upcoming tournament. The country lacks the depth of top favourites, France or England, but the starting 11 can match pretty much anyone in the Euros. The defence is especially talented, with the likes of Van Dijk, Van de Ven, Ake, De Ligt, Jeremy Frimpong and Denzel Dumfries. The midfield has Frankie de Jong to dictate tempo, while the attack has some good players in Cody Gakpo, Xavi Simons, Daniel Marlin and Memphis Depay. It's yet to fully come together at a tournament with this team, but on paper it's a strong squad that can definitely make a push for the trophy. Their biggest weakness, performance versus bigger teams. This Netherlands side is kind of like England in my opinion. They have some very good players, but for some reason they just can't pull it together, and when they come up against bigger nations with similar level of talent, they always lose. At the last World Cup, they looked good in the groups, but then came up against Argentina and lost. In the Nations League, they were smacked 4-2 by Croatia, and then lost a third place game to Italy. They then, in Euro qualifying, rather worryingly, got smacked by France 4-0 and then lost 2-1, and with France in their group, that's not a good sign. They then, in their last set of friendlies, lost to Germany, so in the last 2 years really, they're yet to be a bigger nation, which is very, very concerning. Their key player, Xavi Simons. While the likes of Van Dijk, De Jong and others are great and going to be crucial for them, this is similar to others I've mentioned, where Xavi Simons has that X factor. The Netherlands attack is perhaps the weak point, with some good players in Gakpo, Marlin and Depay, but none of them world beaters, and you can't really rely on them to win a game out of nowhere. Xavi Simons on the other hand, he has that X factor and could be a game winner. He's performed so well for Leipzig this season, and if given the chance at these Euros, could be that star in attack who wins the game out of nothing, which is exactly what this Dutch side are lacking. Ones to watch: Denzel Dumfries / Jeremy Frimpong. Ronald Koeman has a bit of a dilemma at right wing back, and this is definitely one of the things to watch at these Euros as to who he goes for. Dumfries is a very experienced, trusted set of hands who's had yet another good season for Inter Milan. He's played and done well at a few major tournaments now, and is also very trusted and liked by Koeman, having played for him when Koeman was in charge in his first stint. However, Jeremy Frimpong has been electric for Leverkusen this season, and one of the best players in the world this year. So, I have no idea what Koeman will do here. Maybe Frimpong will move into one of the attacking positions, but whoever plays, they will have a top quality right wing back starting and a top quality right wing back on the bench. Next up, Austria. Strength, recent form. The Austrians finished runners-up to Belgium in qualifying, though a 3-2 loss against them was their only defeat in 8 matches. It's worth noting that Ralf Rangnick's side drew 1-1 in Belgium and won their 3 other away games. They are not solely reliant upon home support to do it as well. The team is on a winning run of 5 games right now, scoring 13 goals and conceding only 1 in the process. Germany and Turkey in friendlies this season, the latter getting thumped 6-1. Austria will feel they can be competitive in a tricky group here, and under Rangnick have been sensational, so they will go into this with a lot of confidence they can go far in this tournament. Their weakness: game winners. The team is disciplined and full of serviceable players who know their roles with a good coach, but the country lacks star power. France and the Netherlands have multiple world-class players, while the Austrians must rely on team spirit. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm not sure this squad has enough talent to progress from such a tough group. Austria has one true star in David Alaba, who will miss the tournament after suffering an ACL injury. This is a huge blow for the country that will now have to rely on other players to lead the squad. Michael Gregoritsch is a very solid target man, while the young Christoph Baumgartner is likely the most talented player. But he and nobody else in the squad is really a star who can win a game from out of nowhere, which is what you need sometimes in tournament football, and this could ultimately be the downfall of this Austrian side. They're a good team who just lack a star. Key player: Michael Gregoritsch. As I said, Austria lack a star, so they will need all their attackers to step up. One of those attackers is the man who will lead the line, Michael Gregoritsch, who has been in sensational form for the national team recently. He scored a hat-trick versus Turkey in their latest friendlies, and scored a really impressive 4 goals in 6 qualifying games. While he's not been amazing for his club this season, he's been really good for Austria, and if he can transfer this great form into the tournament, then Austria may have their star attacker after all. Ones to watch: Kevin Danso. With Alaba gone, Austria will be missing their star centre-back, and that means somebody will have to step up in his absence. That man could be Kevin Danso, who looks a shoo-in to start now Alaba is out, and he's had a great time in club football recently, with Danso playing a key role in helping Lens challenge PSG for the league title last year. While the team fell short of the league title, they did play in the Champions League and Europa League, where Danso did very well. However, he's not really proven himself for the national team yet, and this is his opportunity to show his talent on the international stage, with Austria going to need him to step up and show why losing David Alaba is not that much of a big miss after all. Next up is Poland. Their biggest strength: the experience. Poland's path to the Euros was convoluted, hugely complicated and thoroughly unconvincing. The Poles finished third behind Albania and Czech Republic in qualifying. They earned a spot in the playoffs thanks to their performance in the Nations League. After cruising past Estonia 5-1 in the semi-finals, it took a shootout victory over Wales to earn them a spot in Germany. However, what gives them the edge in this tournament and will help them greatly is their experience. Against Wales in the shootout, it was that experience and composure in big moments that helped them go through. This side has a lot of older players, such as the 2 key men Lewandowski and Szczesny, and also Zielinski, who has played at major tournaments before with the Polish side, and are now not going to have those nerves going into this tournament. They have some other talented players and generally are not really a young squad, which is going to help them massively. Their biggest weakness: goals. A team that can call upon Lewandowski should have a chance of upsetting the odds, but he needs service, and even he only scored 3 goals in qualification. To win just 3 of 8 matches at that stage, when being drawn as the top seed, doesn't bode well. While they did put 5 past Estonia, any time Poland come up against a half-decent team, the goals stop flowing. They failed to score versus Wales in the playoffs, scored 1 versus Albania in 2 matches, 2 goals versus the Czech in 2 games, and then at the last World Cup as well, 0 versus France, 0 versus Mexico and 0 versus Argentina. They don't score a lot, and that's a problem, as they have facing some good teams in this group. Key player Wojciech Szczesny. While Lewandowski is the star in this team, the man in goal Szczesny for me is going to have a bigger role to play if Poland are to progress out of this group. As I said, this side doesn't score too many, so if they're going to go through, they will have to do what they did at the last World Cup, where they don't concede a lot, and hope they can scrape 0-0 draws and 1-0 wins. Szczesny was crucial to that at the last World Cup, pulling off some incredible saves and performances, keeping Poland in most games, so will be called into action again at this tournament and will need to step up. Ones to watch: Piotr Zielinski. Zielinski is one of the standout players in this Polish team and is definitely one to watch at this tournament. He played a key role in Napoli's Serie A title win last year and was sensational, but this season has been awful for him at Napoli. His form has been poor and he's missed quite a few games for Napoli this season. He's one to watch as can he rediscover that form at these Euros despite a tough club campaign. Matty Cash will also miss out through injury, increasing concerns over the supply line to Lewandowski, so Zielinski is going to play a major role at this tournament, and we will see if he can put his poor club performance behind him at the tournament. Okay, Group E. Belgium. Belgium's biggest strength is expectations. Belgium is a real intriguing team to watch in the Euros. Fans were promised a golden generation, and despite boasting a star-studded squad, the team didn't reach the lofty heights expected of them. The last World Cup was abysmal, with Belgium getting grouped, and that pretty much ended the golden generation, with everybody now believing the golden generation is over. Many people don't expect much of Belgium anymore. Every tournament since Euro 2016, Belgium has gone in as one of the favourites, but this will be the first in a long time where nobody is really looking at Belgium as a major threat. That being said, they still have quality, and Belgium won their qualifying group with an impressive unbeaten run, scoring 22 goals and conceding just 4. They were one of the standout performers of the qualifiers, and with this lack of expectation on them, this could be the tournament where they actually do achieve something, which would be pretty ironic. Their biggest weakness, the defence. While Belgium only conceded 4 in qualifying, they were against some very poor teams, and when this side gets tested versus a decent side, they tend to concede. They conceded 3 versus Austria in 2 games in qualifying, 2 versus Germany in a friendly, and 2 versus England in a friendly as well. Now that's not really a surprise, to be honest. When you look at their defence, it's not the best, with Arthur Fiat, Wout Faes and a very old Axel Witsel and Jan Vertonghen their options at the back, which isn't great. I fear that when this side comes up against a good attack such as a France or an England, they might get found out. Key player, Kevin De Bruyne. The last star of the golden generation really, all the others are gone or past their peak. Courtois not called up, Hazard is gone, Lukaku isn't what he was, same with Vertonghen and Witsel. De Bruyne is the last one, and all the pressure is on him to deliver. KDB was part of those Belgium sides that failed at tournaments, and he never really truly delivered at those tournaments, with Hazard always the star in the side, not him. The last tournament, the 2022 World Cup, Hazard was there, but that was KDB. He was the guy, it was his tournament, but they failed. This is perhaps his last major tournament for Belgium, and this is his team and his last chance to perform and deliver a trophy for his country. He is of course the best player in this side, so Belgium are to do anything, they're going to need him. Ones to watch, Lois Openda. With Lukaku a bit hit and miss, Lois Openda could be called upon to have a major role at this tournament. He has all the assets you want from a backup striker. He's rapid, which makes him great as a game changer, and he's had a sensational season for Leipzig. Next up is Romania. Their biggest strength is their recent form. Romania secured its place at Euro 2024 by finishing at the top of Group I. It wasn't the most testing group, but the team did what they were supposed to do and kept their dream alive with 6 wins and 4 draws to qualify as one of the only few unbeaten teams. In fact, in their last 15, Romania have lost just twice, so they're on some real great form right now. Having not qualified for a major tournament since 2016, this group of Romanian players have already done so well qualifying for the tournament, and confidence will be high in the camp due to their recent form. Their biggest weakness: lack of high quality opposition faced. While they have had some great form recently, they really haven't been tested much. Their group in qualifying contains Switzerland, Israel, Belarus, Kosovo and Andorra. While they did well versus Switzerland, who are a decent side, the others are not too great opposition, and when you look at their opposition they've played recently, again, not great. They played Bosnia, Finland and Montenegro in the Nations League, and they finished bottom of that group, and all of those teams didn't even qualify for this tournament, by the way. Then in their latest set of friendlies they faced Northern Ireland and drew, and then faced an actual tough team in Colombia, and while they did well, they still lost 3-2. They haven't played many high-level oppositions recently, and I worry when they do in this tournament they might find out they're not quite ready to compete yet. Their key player, Nicolae Stanju. The star of his Romanian side, Nicolae Stanju, has worked so hard for this moment to captain his side at a major tournament. He was involved in the team that was at Euro 2016, but now he's the main man and leader of this side. That experience he has is going to be vital, and he's also the creative hub of this team. He had a good qualifying campaign, grabbing 3 goals, and is set to start in his number 10 role as captain. He will be crucial to Romanian hopes at these Euros. Ones to watch: Horodai Moldovan. Horodai Moldovan sealed a transfer from Rapid Bucharest to Atletico Madrid over the winter window, and is one of the few Romanians in this team who is playing for a major club in Europe. Moldovan has usually been the number 1 pick in goal for Romania, but he has hardly featured for Atletico Madrid since his winter switch, which could open the door for somebody else to stake a claim for the starting spot. He will most likely still start though, and this is going to be interesting if a goalkeeper who hasn't played a game since January can perform at the Euros. Next up is Slovakia, whose biggest strength is experience. If history is any guide, Slovakia will finish 3rd in this group. That was their position at Euro 2016 and again at Euro 2020. However, at Euro 2020 they took that spot with 4 points and were the best performing 3rd place side. With no World Cup appearance since 2010, these examples provide their most relevant tournament pedigree. However, this experience at those tournaments is only a positive. Being competitive at the last tournaments with some similar players in the squad will massively help Slovakia, who are in a group with teams like Romania, who haven't been to major tournament in a while. Their biggest weakness: performances versus bigger nations. Finishing 2nd to Portugal and losing only to them was an excellent outcome, having been seeded 5th in group. The other sides in the group were Bosnia, Iceland, Liechtenstein and Luxembourg though, none of them as strong as the opponents waiting in Group E in Germany. A loss to Austria and a draw with Norway in March friendlies didn't encourage optimism either. While they did okay versus Portugal, they've never really managed to pull off an upset or beat a team who is much better than them, or even on a similar level, in the last few years, and that's a bit of a problem going into these Euros. Key player: Milan Skriniar. The most high-profile name in the squad is of course PSG centre-back Milan Skriniar, who remains the leader at the heart of Slovakian defence and the team captain. He's going to be vital to this team, not only because of his ability, but with Slovakia likely to face a lot of traffic and attacks. Skriniar is going to be called upon to be the rock at the back. And if they can have a strong defence, then Slovakia stand a good chance here of progressing. And ones to watch, Stanislav Lobotka. An ever-president has Napoli claimed the 22-23 Serie A title. Stanislav Lobotka is unquestionably integral to his country's fortunes and will be tasked with controlling the tempo in the middle of the park. Similar to Zielinski, he's going to be interesting to watch as Napoli have had an awful season and he's not been near the level he was in the Serie A winning season. So, if he can rediscover that form at these Euros, that will be a massive plus to Slovakia, as they will have a fantastic midfielder on their hands. Next up is Ukraine, whose biggest strength is their spirit. Football has long been dubbed a beautiful game, but this summer will have so much more meaning for Ukraine. As the invasion of Ukraine continues, Euro 2024 presents an opportunity for escapism from war and a platform to express the national identity. The unity and character of the Ukraine squad has been evident throughout their journey. The road to Germany was a difficult one, pitted in a qualifying group against England and Italy, as well as the disadvantage of not being able to play on home soil. However, Ukraine came within a whisker of automatic qualification and had to contend with playoffs and late comeback victories over Bosnia and Iceland, booked the Eastern Europeans' place in the Euros. This spirit and unity and the significance of this tournament will be massive for Ukraine, who can use that to help them pull off a historic and emotional run. Their weakness, away form. Their record on the road is a slight worry though. 7 of the 8 goals they conceded in qualification occurred in away games, and they went behind in both Malta and North Macedonia's games. While Ukraine recovered to win both, stronger opponents won't yield so easily. Of course, they won't be at home at these Euros, and that away form could be an issue, although I'm sure there will be tons of Ukrainian fans at Germany to make them feel at home. Key player, Artem Dovbyk. While they didn't have a reliable goal threat in qualifying, they do have one of the most informed strikers in Europe right now in Artem Dovbyk. Dovbyk was La Liga top scorer this season for Barcelona and has had a real breakout year for them. While he hasn't been prolific for Ukraine yet, only scoring 2 in qualifying, with his form, they will be desperate for Dovbyk to replicate that at the Euros, and they will need him, with Ukraine lacking a goal threat besides him. The ones to watch, Hirahai Sudakov. Whilst captain Zinchenko is going to be pivotal, and Dovbyk the talisman, Sudakov could be just as critical for Ukraine. The Euros could prove to be a big tournament for the 21-year-old attacking mid, with rumours that his domestic form has caught the attention of some Premier League sides. It will be Sudakov's ability to pick out passes for Dovbyk, which will prove key in Ukraine's chances. He will play just behind Dovbyk and could make a real difference for them. Sudakov could prove to be decisive if Ukraine are to progress, and he is likely to be the architect in their goal-scoring opportunities and could potentially put himself in the shop window. And finally, Group F, we have Portugal, whose biggest strength is their squad. Portugal's squad-wise are up there with any nation in the world. They have star-quality players all over the pitch, with the likes of Rafael Leao, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, Ronaldo, Ruben Diaz, and so many others to call upon. They don't really have a weak spot on paper in the squad, and this level of quality alone should be enough for Portugal to breeze past their group and go very far in this competition. Their biggest weakness, lack of good opposition face Germany in a confident mood. They were the best side in qualification, winning all 10 games. However, they were by no means in the toughest group, with Slovakia, Iceland, Bosnia, Liechtenstein and Luxembourg in their group. In recent friendlies, they also haven't even really had a proper test. That only won really against Sweden and Slovenia. You have to go back to September and 2022 since Portugal last faced a top European side, and even this group at the Euros won't be much of a test either for them. This could be a problem, as it's quite hard to judge just how good they are, and they may get found out when they play stiffer competition in the knockout stages. Key player Bruno Fernandes. Choosing a key player for Portugal is pretty hard, and I could go for anybody here, but I'm gonna go for Bruno. He's had his ups and downs for United, but overall remains their best player. His record for Portugal recently has been incredible. In qualifying, he got 6 goals and 7 assists, and while this was against worse opposition, it's still good to see Bruno being the main man for Portugal in attack. He is yet to sparkle at a major tournament though, and that's why I think he's going to be key, as if he can translate that qualifying form into these Euros, then Portugal may be unstoppable in attack. Ones to watch, João Neves. A number of top clubs are interested in João Neves, and this Euros could be his chance to increase his value even more. He's been terrific for Benfica at the tender age of just 19, and has broken into the Portuguese national team with 5 caps to his name. I'm not sure if he will start, but based on ability, he should, and if he does, he could be one of the best young players at the tournament. And who knows, if Portugal win the tournament, he could emulate Renato Sanchez at Euro 2016 and win Young Player of the Tournament before earning a big move. Next up is Turkey, whose biggest strength is their qualifying form. Turkey are the second favourites in Group F and can carry legitimate hopes of reaching the knockout phases in Germany. Despite being seeded in pot 4 for qualification, the Turks topped their group ahead of Croatia with a defeat to firm their only loss. This impressive form was undermined in the March friendlies though, but the way they eased through qualifying is encouraging. Their last Euro performance was horrible, but this is a great chance to redeem themselves, and they go into this with some decent form. Their biggest weakness, goals. While 12 players scored in qualifying, their joint top goal scorer had just 2 goals in Cenk Tosun. Similarly, only 6 Turkish players have found the net in Europe's Big 5 leagues this season, which is pretty bad. If they can get through the group, a lack of top-level scoring may limit Turkey's ambitions beyond that. They have nobody in that squad who they can rely on for goals, or has an incredible season in front of goal, which is a major concern for Turkey. Key player, Hakan Çalhanoğlu. Çalhanoğlu has for a long time been one of the better players for Turkey, but he is now well and truly the star man. He's very experienced now, and thanks to his incredible year at Inter, can play multiple roles in the midfield, either as a deep DM, a number 8 or a number 10. He's got that winning mentality after a Serie A win with Inter this year, and has been one of their best players, and his ability to dictate the game with his composure and experience will be vital for Turkey. One to watch, Arda Güler. While Kenan Yildiz is a shout, Arda Güler has the potential to be a spark for the Turkey side. I said nobody has really had a great year in front of goal in this Turkey team, but Arda Güler has the ability to score goals, which the goals they really do lack. He's been limited massively this season by injuries, but when he returned in the back end of the season, he was sensational. If he can carry that form into these Euros, he will be the guy in attack that could make something out of nothing and win Turkey some games. Next up, Czech Republic, whose biggest strength is their form. While they finished runners-up in their group, their form won 7 and drew 4 of their 12 matches, and only in Albania loss did they concede more than 1 goal. That's encouraging, and it seems they are a solid side who are a very difficult team to beat, which will bode very well for them in the tournaments. Their weakness: goals. While the defence has been fairly solid, the goals have been limited. They failed to score more than 1 goal versus Albania, Poland and the Faroe Islands, and also Hungary and Moldova in the last year, which is very concerning. When they come up against better opposition and better defences in Germany, it's going to be hard to see where the goals come from for the Czechs. The key player, Patrick Schick. Much of that goal scoring will rest on Patrick Schick. He was the joint top scorer at Euro 2020, but injury problems meant Schick was unavailable throughout qualification, which is partly the reason they struggled for goals. But he has returned to action for new Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen and averages a goal every other game in international football. He will be crucial for the Czechs at these Euros. One to watch: Matej Kova. Schick's Leverkusen teammate Matej Kova is an intriguing one to watch at the Euros. Although Leverkusen absolutely flew in the Bundesliga, Matej Kova was largely restricted to the cup goalkeeper role. That being said, he did superb in the cups and is going to be very interesting if he is given the number 1 spot, or Slavia Prague's Jindřich Stanisic is preferred simply because he has played more. Next up is Georgia, our final team, and their biggest strength is expectation. Georgia is the only nation at the Euros for whom it is their first appearance at a major tournament. Beating Greece on penalties was an incredible, proud day for the country, and while many will write off their hope of doing anything, with it being their first tournament, they have zero pressure on them, as they've already overachieved just getting here. We've seen nations in the past who have had this no-fear attitude in their first tournament do very well, such as Iceland, and Georgia, having no expectations, simply going out there and trying to enjoy the moment, may make them a threat. Their weakness, though: experience. Of course, the flip side of this is none of these players have ever been at a major tournament on this stage. A lot of the players are scattered around lower leagues in Europe as well, so in general, most of these have never competed at a big tournament or a massive game on a global stage in their career, which isn't great. Under the bright lights, it may be a little bit too much for this Georgian side. Key player, Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. One of those who has played at the highest level and is by far and away the key player is winger Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. He is one of the most exciting wingers in the world and is a beacon of hope in this Georgian side. He probably, out of anybody in this entire tournament, will be called upon the most by his country, as if he does not perform, I generally have no idea who is going to perform for Georgia. The one to watch: Georgi Mamachashvili. At the back, goalkeeper Georgi Mamachashvili is their only other squad member with significant playing time in one of the Big 5 leagues this season. He can expect to be kept busy and likely very involved to keep Georgia in the competition. He's attracted quite a bit of interest from clubs around Europe as well, so this could be a good chance for him to make a name for himself and get a big move this summer. So there we go. That is your complete guide to the Euros. Hopefully this video has been informative